So today is the all-auspicious day. Practically you can't get more auspicious than this day, because it's the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Gosvami, who is the all in all, the life and soul of all the Rupa Nuga Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And to try to comprehend his divine personality, his contributions, a very, very deep topic. What to speak of studying what he has given, to even try to summarize it and to present the glories of Srila Rupa Goswami. It is not a very easy thing to do. And who will be able to understand these glories? Just anyone? No.
3 days in the valley,
Yeah. So in the audience there are many different kinds of individuals, all different levels. But who will actually be able to understand and to relish all these discussions about Rupa Goswami and what he has given? Well, I think there's different levels of appreciation, of course. But really, only those who have come to the point in their sadhan bhajan life where they comprehend, even to a small extent, what role and position Rupa Goswami has given that no others have given. I was just reading my beloved Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion preface this morning, because he's introducing the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the great literature of Srila Rupa Goswami. He's introducing it for the first time to the whole Western world in the form of a summary study called what? The Nectar of Devotion. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And there he's telling, he says, actually, this whole Krishna consciousness movement is going on under the jurisdiction of Srila Rupa Goswami. I can remember reading that 53 years ago, thinking, oh, Rupa Goswami, he has an important role to play. But at that time, we had very little understanding. Of course, then by reading that book, The Nectar of Devotion, we could sense that, oh, Srila Rupa Goswami, he has given us this guidebook for the execution of Bhakti Yoga and this Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada used to say that this is what was the term of the Krishna consciousness movement? Not the guidebook, something else of the Krishna, something like that, yeah, of the Krishna consciousness movement, this Nectar of Devotion. Because the Krishna consciousness movement is the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he's trying to come and give to all the jivas. Yeah. So, to fully understand and comprehend what the Krishna consciousness movement is, if somebody doesn't read Rupa Goswami's book, Nectar, well, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but in the form of the Nectar of Devotion to begin with, then they'll not really grasp. Why? Because they won't understand the conception called Bhakti Rasa. Bhakti Rasa. So for the first time in this day of Brahma, Srila Prabhupada was making an effort to introduce that teaching of Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami, which is the thesis on the subject matter of Bhakti Rasa that was taught to him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. We heard yesterday that Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami that there is an ocean called the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. But this ocean is so vast and it has no parameters, no limit. It's unlimited. So no one can fully comprehend this ocean. However, I will try to give you just one drop so that you can understand this ocean of Bhakti Rasa. One tiny little drop. But that one drop can inundate millions of universes. Yes. So, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give also requires that a devotee should understand who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, what is his identity, what is his mission, why did he come, what are his reasons for appearing. All of these things have to be comprehended. So, but nevertheless, because of that effort of Srila Prabhupada, for the very first time, the teachings of Rupa Goswami that he wrote after hearing from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took those teachings and they were empowered in his heart. His heart became infused with the divine power and blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Gurudev, I was just reading this morning that Gurudev said, whatever Rupa Goswami wrote is actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu putting that there in his heart. So we're going to try to understand who is Rupa Goswami today. We're going to try to understand his contribution. But first, we'll sing this song that our Gurudev always, he would have it sung on this day in front of the Samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And that is called Yan Kali Rupa Sarira Nadharata by, who's the author again? Radha Mohan, no, Madhava Das, by Madhava Das. Also when Gurudev would go on the Brajmandala Parikrama to Terkadamba, which is where Srila Rupa Goswami wrote a lot of his books, underneath the Kadamba tree there, and would recite the shlokas that he's composing. And that was, and still to this day, is worshipped as the Bhajan Kutir of Srila Rupa Goswami. And when Gurudev would come there with the group and sit there in front of that Bhajan Kutir of Rupa Goswami in like a courtyard there, his mood would be so deep and so grave. And he would have, usually Krishna Das at that time would sing this song, Yang Kali Rupa Sharira Nadarata. And also to mention about that place, it's interesting that my other Sikh Guru, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, when he attended the Brajmandala Parikrama with Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, maybe it was like 1932, something like that. So toward the end of that whole parikrama, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati asked the question to Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, so Out of all these Leela Stalis, everything in Braj Mandala, which place did you like the most? And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, Terkadamba, the Bhajan Kutir of Rupa Goswami. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj composed a couple of Sanskrit shlokas to glorify Rupa Goswami. They're written on marble slabs, on marble, on the archway, the entryway to his Bhajan Kutir. So all of our acharyas, they are aspiring for the same thing. All the acharyas in our line are aspiring for what? What Raghunath Das Goswami Pad prayed for. Raghunath Das Goswami is considered the foremost of all the followers of Rupa Goswami. And that's why at the end of every single chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes in the final sloka, Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Paying my pranams at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath Goswamis. And with all of my hopes and prayers there in their lotus feet, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash, which is the repository of all my hopes in their lotus feet. Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. This Krishna Das Kaviraj is speaking the Chaitanya Charitamrita, writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that Raghunath Das Goswami, he prayed. Yes, and he is our Prayojan Tattva Acharya. He is the exemplary personality to clearly express what is the final ultimate goal of attainment, which is Radha Dasyam. And he especially presented that in the book that he wrote toward the very end of his manifest presence, Vilap Kusumanjali, which is one of the most worshipable literatures of any of the six Goswamis. And there he has expressed his lamentation. Vilap means lamentation. Kusum Anjali, like a flower garland, an offering of flowers in lamentation. So each shloka, 104 slokas, they're all in this mood of lamenting and hoping and expectation that when will I serve the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika? In this way and so many other ways, he expresses in detail exactly how he wants to perform service to the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika. So that personality, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, prayed this following prayer, which all of our great acharyas in our line are feeling exactly the same mood. And that prayer is Adadanas Trinan Dantayar Idam Yache Punah Punah Srimad Rupa Padam Voja Dhuli Syam Janma Janmani. Adadanas Trinandantaya, taking a straw in my teeth. Idam yache puna puna. Again and again I am begging and praying. Srimad Rupa Padam Boja Dhuli Syam Janma Janmani. That life after life, that I can have a particle of dust from the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we have also his statement in our Upadeshavali, in the songbook, where he also says, he expresses the final goal and prayer of all the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami is that they may obtain a particle of dust from the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. This is the Amazon. Yes, hello. Yeah, coming. Okay. Huh? What? Yes, I'm coming from Amazon. Yeah, coming. Yeah, coming. So, Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told that this is our ultimate desire. We have no other desire except for this one desire, to have a particle of dust from the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. Why? How valuable is that tiny particle of dust? You don't even need two of them, you just need one. How valuable is that? Inconceivable. Inconceivable. So, at the time when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was leaving this world and performing his disappearance pastime, then his disciples were in the room along with him. And one of those personalities was Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada told, I want to hear Sridhar Maharaj sing the song by Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. So at that time, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he was not accustomed so much to be playing this role of kirtan leader. There were other personalities who were very much more qualified, he considered. And they also had musical singing voice and all of that. And they were also pure-hearted Vaishnavas. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, hearing this order from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, naturally he began to sing. But his singing was a little bit hesitating, you know. A little bit of hesitancy was there in his voice. So one personality there who was generally the secretary of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Kunja Bihari Prabhu, he then stopped Srila Sridhar Maharaj from singing, and he said, oh, this other brahmachari, he should sing. And that brahmachari was Pranavahananda brahmachari, who later became Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. He was always singing very beautifully, even on radio programs and so forth. So he began to sing, being stopped after Sridhar Maharaj stopped singing, and he began. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, I do not want to hear the musical intonation. I want to hear Sridhar Maharaj sing. Then he sang. And the devotees who were there in the room, they all expressed a similar feeling and a similar experience. And they told later, after that meeting, they mentioned to Sridhar Maharaj that this dispensation by Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to you, this felt to us to be that he was granting you entrance into the kunja of Srimati Radhika, of Rupa Manjari, into that kunja. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj expressed, out of his humility, of course, that he did not consider, he did not feel that that was really the case. So he said, at least I felt that I have been posted outside of the kunja to protect, to guard, like a guardian. So that's why his name is Bhakti Rakshak, given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Rakshak, who is the protector of the pathway of bhakti. So like this, we will sing this song first, and then we'll read so much beautiful glorification of Srila Rupa Goswami. So if you have the songbook, you can also put it on your phone or whatever. This is called Yan Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharata. So before we sing this song, I'm going to tell the meaning of the song, because then we can sing the song with a little bit of mood, because we're not Bengalis and we don't know the Bengali language, so therefore we should understand the translation and the mood of the song. So here, Madhava Das, he is telling Yan Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharata Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika Kon Kapata Ugarata. So, this is in a kind of Brajbasi language. So he's telling here that Yan Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharata, that means in this age of Kali, this current age of Kali, which is, of course, not an ordinary Kali Yuga, this is the Dhanya Kali Yuga. So in this age of Kali, if Srila Rupa Goswami had not appeared, what would have happened? If Srila Rupa Goswami had not appeared? That's the question he's asking here. Or he's making this statement that if Rupa Goswami had not appeared in this age of Kali, then now the question comes, who would have opened the doors to the great treasure house of Braja Prem? Who would have opened the doors of this great treasure house of Braja Prem if Rupa Goswami had not appeared? So that tells us something, that he is the one who did this, who opened the doors to the great treasure house of Braja Prem. So of course, Srila Gurudev, he has explained this song very nicely, but only now I'm reading the translation first. So there are 5 verses. Second verse is continuing to describe what Rupa Goswami did. What he did, which made it inconceivable that if he had not come, if he had not done these things. So then he asks in the second verse, Nirakshira hangsanapana vidayana kon pritak koripayata ko sab tyaji bhaji vrindavana ko sab granta virachita. Now, he says, who but Srila Rupa Goswami could have extracted the essence of the scriptures in the same way that a swan separates water from milk. Who could have done that? Who could have extracted the essence of all the scriptures like a swan can separate water from milk? Now, we never knew this before, but we learned this, that a swan has a particular ability that no other bird has. Do you know that if you give a mixture of milk and water to a swan, it can separate the milk and take the milk and leave the water? Yes? Swan can do that. So, Hamsa, Nirakshira Hamsa Pana Vidayata. So just like a swan separates the milk from the water mixture, in the same way Rupa Goswami, he extracted the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. And if Rupa Goswami had not kosab tyaji bhaji vrindavana, if Rupa Goswami had not abandoned everything, given up everything, and he performed bhajan in Vrindavan, yes? Not only Rupa Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis did this, but if Rupa Goswami had not done that, then who would have written those scriptures? This is the question. So, in that way, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a unique contribution. Then the third verse, Jab pitu vanafula falata nana vidha manoraji aravinda so madhukara binu pana konjanata vidyamana kori banda. Now, Madhava Das is saying that Rupa Goswami was a honeybee. He's actually calling him a honeybee. And he's a honeybee that was moving and flying amidst the varieties of beautiful, blossoming, yellow forest flowers, and also mind-enchanting lotus flowers. So Rupa Goswami was the honeybee who was flying in Vrindavan from these flowers. But if that honeybee was not there, without that honeybee, who could have known the art of drinking the nectar that was present in the flowers, yet it was confined within those flowers? You need a bee. You can't just take the flower and munch on it. No, you need the bee. The bee has to extract the essence of the flowers, and then it gradually becomes turned into what? Russians know about this. Russian people know about what? Honey, thank you. Myot, that's the word for honey. Because they have many varieties in this vast country of top-level honey. But guess what? None of that Russian honey, even if you take all of it together, none of it can equal one tiny speck of the honey that Rupa Goswami, in the form of this beautiful bumblebee, was extracting from the flowers in Braj. What are those flowers in Braj? All the Leela Stalis, all the pastime places, all the transcendental nectar in the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Shastras, everything. And he was like a bee that was extracting that. So then, the fourth shloka, Ko janata mathura brindavana, Ko janata brajanita, Ko janata radha madhava rati, Ko janata soy prita. Here he repeats 4 times. Ko janata. That means, who could have understood? Janata means to know, to understand. Ko janata. Who? Who could have understood? So, the first one, Ko janata mathura brindavana. Who could have understood the glories of Mathura and Brindavana? Who could have understood? Ko janata vrajanita. Who could have fathomed Brajanita? That means all the intricate moods of Braja and all the different exchanges of loving, sweet moods in the pastimes with Radha and Krishna. Who could have understood? Ko janata Radha Madhava Rati. Who could have understood if Rupa Goswami had not come? Who could have understood the Rati? The Rati, the love and affection, the prem between Radha and Madhava. No one could have understood. Ko janata soy prita. And who could have known that love, that prita, that prem? Who could have understood that? So now in the last 5th shloka, he says, Jakara charana prasade sakala jana, gai gawai sukha pauta, charana kamale sharanagata madho, tava mahima urulagata. So now he's saying that by the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami's lotus feet, now all souls, they can now sing and they can inspire others to sing about the glories of the love of Sri Radha Madhava, and thereby attaining pure transcendental joy. So now Madhava Das prays to Rupa Goswami, O Srila Rupa Goswami, having surrendered at your lotus feet, may this Madhava Das be able to comprehend your unlimited glories. So now we'll sing this song. You can just do the best. Yang Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharata, Yang Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharata, Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika, Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika, Kon Kapata Ugarata, Kon Kapata Ugarata, Yang Kali Rupa Sharira Nadarata, Yang Kali Rupa Sharira Nadarata, Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika, Konkapata Ugarata, Konkapata Ugarata, Konkapata Ugarata. Nirakshirahansana Pana Vidayana Hansana Pana Vidayana Komprita Paripayata Komprita Paripayata Kosabatyaji Baji Vrindavana Kosabatyaji Baji Vrindavana Kosabaganta Virachita Kosabaganta Virachita Yankali Rupa Sharira Nadarata Yankali Rupa Sharira Nadarata Anvraja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika Nidhi Kutarika Konkapata Ugarata Japituvana Pula Halatanana Vidha Manoraji Aravinda So Madhukara Vinu Pana Kunjanata Avidyamana Koribandha Vidyamana Koribandha Yankali Rupa Sharira Nadarata Tambraja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika Tambraja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika Konkapata Ugarata Konkapata Ugarata Ko Janata Mathura Vrindavana Janata Mathura Vrindavana Ko Janata Vrajanita Ko Janata Vrajanita Ko Janata Radha Madhava Rati Ko Janata Radha Madhava Rati Ko Janata Soy prita ko janata soy prita yan kali rupa sharirana dharata tan braja prema mahanidhi kutarita Kon kapata ugarata Jakara charana prasade sakala jana Jakara charana prasade sakala jana gai gawai sukha pauta gai gawai sukha pauta charana kamale sharanagata madho charana kamale sharanagata madho tava mahima urulagata tava mahima urulagata tava mahima urulagata Yang kali rupa sharirana dharata Yang kali rupa sharirana dharata Tan braja prema mahanidhi kutarika Tan braja prema mahanidhi kutarika Kon kapata udharata Kon kapata ugarata Ayang kali rupa sharirana dharata Yang kali rupa sharirana dharata Rupa he, Rupa he, Rupa he, Rupa he Rupa he, Rupa he, Rupa he, Rupa he Jaya Rupa Gosvami, Jaya Rupa Gosvami, Rupa Gosvami, Jaya Rupa Gosvami. Jaya Rupa Gosvami, Jaya Rupa Gosvami, Rupa Gosvami, Jaya Rupa Gosvami. Jaya Rupa Manjari, Jaya Rupa Manjari, Rupa Manjari, Jaya Rupa Manjari. Rupa Rupa Manjari Jaya Rupa Manjari Rupa Manjari Jaya Rupa Manjari Jaya Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Raghunath Rupa Raghunath Rupa Raghunath Jaya Rupa Raghunath Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu Ki Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai Tirobhav Mahamahotsav Titi Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Maharaj, you play a pretty mean window.
Years ago.
So I request for a few minutes our Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Sajjan Maharaj to just express his heart a little bit on this most auspicious day of Srila Rupa Goswami's Transcendental Disappearance Day. So, Maharaj, if you want, why don't you just bring your chair here and then you can use this mic.
We think there's only 6 or 7 in the audience. Actually, there's many souls here listening to the glories of Rupa Goswami. We are Rupa Nugas. Angyanatamrandasya Giranjana Salakaya Chakshuni Tamjena Tasmai Sri Gurve Adarinastradandantir Yaram Yache Panapana Srimad Rupa Parambojo Duli Sham Jam Jamani Vanchikapaturvishya Kripa Sindhu Deva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Guruve Gaura Chandrai Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnai Krishna Bhakta Tad Bhakta Namo Srila Rupa Goswami Pad Ki Jai Ho Srila Rupa Manjari Ki Jai Ho. So we can attempt to touch one drop of the glories of Sri Rupa Goswami Pad. In Radha and Krishna's Leela, Radharani is the summum bonum. She's the personification of the highest love of Sri Krishna. Her most intimate associate is Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Rupa Manjari. So Mahaprabhu has come to taste, Krishna has come to taste 3 things that he can't taste himself. He wants to taste that highest prema that Srimati Radharani is feeling. He wants to taste the qualities in him that she relishes through that prema. And Krishna wants to taste the happiness that she feels in that relationship, their Yugal Prema relationship. So Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya Prabhu to experience that prema. Krishna was Lila Purushottam. He didn't distribute prema, but as Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, he's Prema Purushottam. He distributes that prema. He tastes it. Prema Ras Niryash Kortash Verdhan Raga Marga Bhakti Yoke Korti Pracharan. He's Krishna tasting that prema, and then in the mood of Radharani is also giving that to others. And he established his innermost heart feelings in the heart of Sri Rupa Goswami. And he asked others, associates, to give their benedictions and blessings to Rupa Goswami also. So, by the mercy of Rupa Goswami, particularly, receiving the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can imbibe the teachings of Mahaprabhu that were inaccessible and remain inaccessible without the mercy of Sri Rupa Goswami. So he has given us so many wonderful literatures. Maharaj has spoken. One drop of Bhakti Ras was given in the Rup Shiksha to Sri to Rupa Goswami at Prayag. Mahaprabhu gave him so many instructions. He gave him instructions on that Bhakti Ras, the different constituents, samagri, ingredients of Bhakti Ras. And Rupa Goswami has compiled one Bhakti Rasamrita, Sindhu, the ocean of nectarian ras of bhakti. And in that we find so many different definitions that are important to us to understand and imbibe by the mercy of Rupa Goswami. For instance, what is sadhana bhakti? There's so many different aspects of bhakti. Three basic functions of bhakti: sadhana bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prem bhakti. So sadhana bhakti, we're all hoping to be sadakas, performers of sadhana bhakti, bhakti in practice. So Rupa Goswami has given the definition of what sadhana is. Kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhavasa saranavira ruchivis nitya siddhisya bhavasya prakritam riri satyata. To understand this, we can understand that by the performance of our endeavors of our body, mind, senses, and heart sentiments to get the essence of bhakti, which is the sadhya, the ultimate goal of bhakti, the practice of that by all the senses, mind and body to achieve that, which is that essence of bhakti, which is in the moods of all the associates of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Nitya Siddha, but all the Nitya Siddha associates of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan possess that intrinsic, heart-rendering desire to give all of their attention without any consideration, personal sentiments, to Radha and Krishna. And he has given us the most excellent definition. What is pure bhakti? We're members of the Pure Bhakti Yoga Society. So Rupa Goswami has defined the most quintessence, the most perfect definition of what is pure bhakti. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, our Gurudev, has given this emphasis so much to this pure bhakti that he wanted his society named Pure Bhakti. And that essence has been explained by Rupa Goswami in this verse. And Gurudev said, one should not think that he's my disciple or disciple my disciple without knowing this verse. So if we don't know, we can pray to Rupa Goswami today that we can learn this. So, Anyabhilasita shunyam jnana karma ninavritam anukuyena krishna anusinanam bhakti uttama. Bhakti uttama. Pure bhakti. It's the endeavors constantly under the guidance of Siddha Purushas, the constant endeavor, mind, body, senses, and heart sentiments in this process, which is sunyam, which is completely free from the desires for jnana, impersonal knowledge, or sense enjoyment, So many different types of siddhis, mystical perfections, etc., yoga perfections. That was just devoid of all anyabilas, other endeavors, or other desires, which is completely anukulyayana, favorable for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. This is considered the highest Uttama Bhakti, pure Bhakti. And he's said this in so many different wonderful ways in this definition. And he has used the word anukulyayana, which is favorable, not which makes Krishna happy and Radha happy, because the example is given by Krishna, the second manifestation of Rupa. Bhakti Rasa Sindhu Bindu.
Yeah.
Who's the other?
Vishwanath
Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is like a manifestation of Rupa Goswami. And the intimate associates of Srila Bhaktivedanta and Narayan Maharaj knows and accept him also as that Shakti of Rupa Goswami is manifest before us in this parampara. So, anukul, what is favorable, not what is just is happy for the divine couple. Because, for example, in the pastimes of Yashoda Mata, she picked up a stick and she actually, in the Damodar Leela, she made Krishna cry. But her endeavor was full of so much love and Vatsalya Prem. It's accepted as pure Uttama Bhakti. Although the result was Krishna, but it was for his benefit. It seemed like he wasn't happy, although internally he was so happy. That was his relationship. What was the other example?
The other example, the wrestlers.
Oh yeah, in the wrestling arena that Kamsa had given in Mathura, between Krishna was brought from Vrindavan, although we know yesterday he never leaves Vrindavan, but his expansion of Vasudeva Krishna was there in Vrindavan, and he was engaged in this fighting, wrestling with the two powerful wrestlers, Charnur and Mustika. And they received so much happiness in that transcendental fight, Vira Ras. But was Mustika and Charna, was their endeavor considered pure bhakti because it gave Krishna happiness? No, because their motivation was ultimately to kill and harm Krishna. So this definition, anukulyena Krishnanusinam, is very, very wonderful. And 3 times is used in this verse, anu, that under the guidance of those who possess this level of pure bhakti, that is how we can endeavor to learn and perform and be successful in this process of sadhana bhakti, and achieving levels of bhav bhakti, and finally prem bhakti. So I don't want to take up so much of your time, but it's just one little particle of a drop that we can listen to Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Padmanabha Maharaj. Vanchakalpadurishcha Kripasamuni Vaishnava.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So on this auspicious day of the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, we are very fortunate to be here in Sri Navadvip Dham on this occasion. So I'm first of all offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, who brought this message of Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the entire world. His Divine Grace Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashtottara Sata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, who expanded this initial presentation given by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and went into much more explicit and deeper understanding of the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami, of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam and all. And that is Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Ashtottara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my unlimited Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga and my Siksha Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada and pray for a few drops of mercy that he can sprinkle on our heads here today to hear about his unlimited glories. And my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavis who are here in this room and who are watching through internet. My Dandavat Pranams to all. So Maharaj mentioned a very relevant shloka. It's probably, out of all the different shlokas composed by Srila Rupa Goswami, this shloka is definitely the most prominent. And what is the shloka? Anyabhilashita shunyam, as he just described. That shloka. It is in the beginning of his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And we have been fortunate to hear over and over and over and to read over and over and over in the purports of Srila Prabhupada and the explanations of all of our Guru Varga, how this verse is most essential. And so to properly understand this verse, we will have to study Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. And in there, he very systematically breaks down each word, each syllable even, of this verse. And he explains the depth. Now, one thing we should understand is that to understand what is this principle called bhakti, to understand what is bhakti, so we will have to refer to the Vedic Shastras, where there are various different quotations and explanations, or even definitions of bhakti, you see. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, there is also a very essential shloka, which is also describing, to some extent, describing the definition of bhakti. So, what is that shloka? Do you know which one? Savai pungsang paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahoituki apratihata ye atma suprasidati. Now this shloka was spoken by Shuta Goswami in response to the questions which were asked there in the forest of Naimisharanya by the sages, headed by Shonaka Rishi. And they put forward in the first chapter of Bhagavatam a number of different questions. Questions by the sages, that's the title of that first chapter. And one of those questions is asking, how can the jiva atma become fully satisfied? It's all called atma samprasidati. How can the atma become samprasidati, completely satisfied? Is that not the goal of every human being? Yes? Every human being is trying to find how they can become satisfied in their life, how they can become peaceful in their life, how they can become happy in their life, how they can enjoy in this world in various ways. Right? Isn't it? Is there anyone who's not trying to do that? No. You will not find a single human being who is not trying to find what? Happiness. Of course, there are perverted human beings who are very deep in the mode of ignorance, and they find happiness in making other persons suffer. Yes? They're called demons, asuras, demonic. They are also here in this world. But yet they're trying to find happiness. You see? So, but there are different types of happiness, and this is something that a pious jiva soul can begin to understand in their life. If they're not pious, they can't comprehend this, even if they have PhDs and everything else. They have to understand that there are different types of happiness, and there are different levels of happiness, different levels of satisfaction. So, in Srila Prabhupada's preface to the Nectar of Devotion, he very clearly, in a brief way, he was explaining how everybody is looking for this taste of happiness. And in actuality, what is that they're looking for? He comes straight to the point and he says, everyone is looking for rasa. Rasa is what they're looking for. Yeah, rasa. So, there are different types of rasa. Because what is this word rasa in Sanskrit? How do we translate that word? Into English, into Russian? Rasa. Who said? Yeah.
He said in English we don't have words for it.
Yes, and also Srila Prabhupada also told that there's not a complete, perfect equivalent in the English language. And I'm sure that in the Russian language and in all the other languages of the world, they don't have a perfect equivalent for this word rasa. How do you translate it into Russian? Rasa.
Russian, same word.
Yeah, but nobody knows what, because it's not a Russian word. So if you say rasa, nobody will know what you're talking about. You have to translate it into Russian language, right? But none of you know. But if you read Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, his preface, his introduction, then the translation of his Nectar of Devotion into Russian language, then you'll see how he explains it there. So Prabhupada is explaining what his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, what he explained, that rasa means a particular taste, okay? A particular taste, a particular mellow feeling, okay? That a person experiences, a mellow feeling that they experience. And how do they experience this mellow feeling? Like in English language, this word mellow, it means something quite sublime, very mellow, very sublime. So, how to experience that? So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that everyone is searching for this mellow taste and this mellow experience, and he gives many examples. He gives the example of a man who is a father and a husband and is maintaining his family, and he goes out to work very hard. And when he comes back, he becomes satisfied that, oh, I've worked very hard and I've provided food for my children, for my family. He feels a kind of mellow taste. Prabhupada gives that example, you see. And a person who is like a humanitarian, he feels that I want to help the human society. So he works very hard to try to help uplift the human society, politically, socially, economically, whatever case. He's a humanitarian. He also tastes a kind of mellow taste, you see. And, yes, and he gives the example of a philanthropist. A philanthropist is a person who has a lot of wealth, generally. And they want to help people who don't have wealth. So they want to become philanthropic, and they want to establish different trusts and societies so through which they can help the downtrodden masses of people. Like this.
Charity.
Charity, yeah, he wants to do. So Srila Prabhupada was explaining like this, that propensity to love, it expands like a ray of light. Ultimately, the living entity is trying to experience what? Rasa, a mellow, and in a very simple way we can say they're trying to experience love. They're trying to have a connection and have loving relationship with another person. So that's absolutely built in to every living entity. And Prabhupada points out that even in the lower species, to some extent, he says, it's more developed in the human being, but even in the lower species, we find that even in a ferocious animal like a tiger, they're also looking for love. I saw on internet, sometimes you see these videos of people who somehow they raised some tiger. It was abandoned or something happened, right? And so since it was a little, what do they call them? Tiger pups or tiger something? Huh? Cub, yeah. Tiger cub. So he raised that tiger cub. And that tiger cub became a very huge, gigantic, 1,000-pound tiger. Or even lion. There are also examples of lions being raised. And eventually, of course, that tiger, that lion ran into the forest and they rejoined their own species, right? But then you see a picture of that same person coming many years after. And they come and they call out into the forest for this tiger. And then you see on camera the tiger starts running towards him. And what does the tiger do? it embraces and it moves its head and is showing its affection, okay? Even a tiger. So what to speak of a human being? So Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains in his preface to the Nectar of Devotion that this loving propensity is there in everyone, and that loving propensity, it actually expands. It has the tendency to expand. Like a ray of light, when you shine a flashlight, it expands. Okay? So Srila Prabhupada is saying that this propensity to love, it's not satisfied only in our immediate family or members or any of that. It's not completely satisfied there. First of all, why? Because all those relationships are temporary and they will not last, and so our heart cannot become satisfied by some temporary experience of rasa. Because why? Because we are Atma. We're not this body. We're the eternal, conscious, living entity, the soul that is inside of this body. And that soul has this propensity to love. That's why even the tiger can do that, because there's a soul. There's a jivatma inside of the body of the tiger. So in this way, this propensity is really expanding, but where does it finally attain its fullest satisfaction? Where can that person, that Atma, that living being, where can that living being finally attain its full satisfaction? It can only come in the Absolute Supreme Lord, who is the Creator, who is the Maintainer, who is the ultimate object of all of our loving propensity, and that Supreme Absolute Truth is called Parabrahma, Krishna, the Absolute Truth, Krishna, and all of Krishna's expansions. So these sages in the forest of Naimisharanya, they wanted to understand, how can the Atma become fully satisfied? Atma samprasidati, fully satisfied. So they asked that question to Sutta Goswami, and then Sutta Goswami in the second chapter begins to answer their questions. And in answer to that question, he said, Savai pungsang paro dharmo, yato bhaktir adhokshaje. He's saying here, the paradharma, or the supreme occupational duty for every living being. Savai pungsang. Pungsang means person. Pungsang means man or woman. So savai pungsang parodharma. What is the topmost duty, the topmost dharma that can be executed by the living entity? Yato bhaktir, and then he begins to explain Yato bhaktir adhokshaje, by which bhakti to the transcendental Supreme Lord, adhokshaja, that's Krishna, means Krishna who is beyond the reach of our senses and our mind and our subtle mind. We cannot reach him. He's adhokshaja, he's above and transcendental. But that paradharma, that execution of bhakti to adhokshaja, which is performed with two specific qualities, that bhakti, ahoituki, apratihata, that bhakti is unmotivated, ahoituki. The word in Sanskrit, hetu means cause. So everything has some cause, okay? Everything has a cause. And most of the activities that we are performing, we have a motivation, we have a cause why we're performing those activities, but most of those activities are related simply to what? To our own personal sense gratification. See? Ultimately, it boils down to that in this material world. We may have a small little, reflection of loving attitude in this world, but it's not true love. It's not perfect love. It's not eternal love. So here, Sutta Goswami is saying, Yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahoitukiya pratihata. If that bhakti to adhokshaja Krishna is without motivation, in other words, it's selfless. It's selfless. It's performed for the benefit of that personality, for his happiness, for his satisfaction, for his benefit. That's called ahoituki bhakti. And the other is called apratihata, which means that that bhakti is uninterrupted. That's a big one. Uninterrupted. Because the jivas, they do a little bit here and there. They do, and then their own personal desires and needs and all of that comes in the way. But for somebody who's on this platform of ahoituki bhakti, unmotivated bhakti, it's never interrupted. It is a constant flow. Constant flow. And what does he say? What does Sutta Goswami say will happen to that person who executes that kind of bhakti? He answers the questions of the sages. Ye atma samprasidati. In this way only can the atma become fully satisfied. Suprasidati, samprasidati, prasidati, fully satisfied. So this is one definition of bhakti. This is one definition of bhakti. But this is not the only definition given in Shastras. There are other definitions also. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grahyam Indriyai Sevon Mukehi Jivado Swayam Eva Spurati Ada. That Krishna cannot be perceived by our material senses, right? He cannot be perceived by our gross material senses and mind. His name, Atak Shri Krishna Nam Adi, by his name, his form, his pastime, all of these are transcendental and they cannot be perceived by the mundane, material, gross senses. But, is there a way? Yes, there is. Sevon mukehi jivado swayam eva spurati ada. If a person develops the mood of sevon mukh, that means the tendency to serve. Seva means service. So if that propensity to serve is directed toward the Absolute Truth, then what happens? Sevon mukehi jivado swayam eva spurati ada. Swayam eva spurati means that Krishna himself will descend onto your senses. Swayam eva. Swayam means personally, himself. His name, his form, they're all non-different from him. And if Krishna sees that his devotee is desiring always to do sevon mukata, always to serve him, not to enjoy separately from him, then what happens? Then Krishna, his name, form, qualities, pastimes, everything descends onto the senses of the conditioned soul and purifies his senses and gradually reveals himself through that. What's that verse? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Rachate. How does that begin? You remember? I'm forgetting now. Vinir Muktam. Yeah. Sarva Upadi Vinir Muktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam. So, what is the definition of bhakti? Here's another definition. Sarva Upadi Vinir Muktam. When a person has given up all, here's the word, upadi. You can say that, upadi. Upadi. So a upadi comes from two words, upa and di. So di means your conception, what you think you are, who you think you are, your personal conception. But in the material world, if somebody asks you, so who are you? Then you will tell something about who you are. And usually you'll begin by saying, well, I'm the husband or the wife or the mother or the father, like this. We identify with our how do you say, significant others, in this world. But that's according to the understanding of Shastra. This is called an upadi. Upadi means a false designation, false. It is not a real, true understanding of your identity. Because why? Because it's only connected with your temporary body, your temporary mind, like that. So I'm Russian, I'm this, I'm that. I'm American, I'm Australian, I'm Indian. All of these are false designations. They're temporary designations. I come from such and such echelon of society. I'm born in such and such family and all of that. These are all false designations. And when somebody wants to enter into the realm of completely pure, then pure consciousness, pure understanding of their self, then what needs to happen? This verse is telling Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam. Vinirmuktam means to give up, to be freed from all other temporary and false designations. And Tatparatvena Nirmalam. Nirmalam means to be situated in your pure identity, who you are. So how can that be achieved? And what will you be doing in your pure identity? Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. This service to who? Rishikesh, Krishna. That's one of Krishna's names. You know the meaning of this name, Rishikesh? Rishika, Isha. Rishika, Isha. Rishikesha. This is the name of Krishna. You should all know this. That means the master, the Isha of the Rishika. Rishika means your senses. All of your five senses. All of your sense, your active bodily senses, your arms, your legs, this, that. Everything is controlled ultimately by who? By Rishikesh. Krishna is the master of everyone's senses. Rishikesha. So, Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. When your Rishika, Rishikena, is employed in the service of Rishikesha, of Krishna, who is the master of all senses, then Bhaktir Uchate, it is called Bhakti. Yeah, that's what Bhakti is. So we've mentioned 3 different verses that are giving some definition of Bhakti, but no one gave a definition of Bhakti so perfect, so all-comprehensive, so complete, so detailed. Nothing is left out. Nothing is over-exaggerated. No. It is the perfect definition of Bhakti. And who gave that? Who wrote that verse? Rupa Gosvami. Rupa Gosvami. In this small book of the glories of Rupa Goswami, there's a whole article there by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Yes, whole article is there. And in that article, he explains in even more detail than Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur the definition of this verse. Anyavilashita Shunya. So Gurudev would often he would bring this up. that no one has ever written such a verse as Rupa Goswami. No one. Is not found anywhere in Shastra or by any other Acharya. Such a perfect definition of bhakti. So, we don't have time to go into explaining that verse. The main thing is that Rupa Goswami wrote definition verses for all the different aspects of bhakti. Not only what is bhakti, what is uttama bhakti, and all of that, but he wrote for everything that is connected with bhakti and bhakti rasa. He wrote definition verses. Dozens and dozens, probably a few hundred definition verses in his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it is a science, it is a great, great science of bhakti. And who did Rupa Goswami receive this from? He received it directly from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 10 days in Varanasi, on the bank of the Ganga Yamuna there, and he sat there at one bathing ghat called Dash Ashvamedha Ghat. That's where he instructed Rupa Goswami. And I was reading Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj's, his glorification of Rupa Goswami, and he's, I think that was in 2009 or 2008, one of those final years while Gurudev was on the planet, and Srila Bharati Maharaj came to Rup Sanatan and sat right next to Srila Gurudev, and this was during the Rupa Goswami conference. And then he glorified, our Gurudev glorified Srila Bharati Maharaj as being someone who fully knows Tattva Siddhanta and who also knows Rasa Siddhanta. So then he requested Srila Bharati Maharaj to be the Sabhapati, the presiding Vaishnava at this conference. And then Srila, you can read his lecture. But Srila Bharati Maharaj always makes very interesting and novel kind of, things that we haven't heard exactly before. And Dasha Ashvamedha. So, why is it called Dasha Ashvamedha Ghat? Do you know why? What is a Ashvamedha? Ashvamedha is a yagya. And what is a yagya? A yagya is a sacrifice, a sacrificial performance, in which there is some desired result. Yagya. So they hire a priest, they chant certain mantras and so forth, and they want a certain desired result. So a Ashvamedha yagya is, of course, Ashva means horse. So in the previous yuga, like in Treta Yuga, they would sacrifice a horse, right? That's where it comes from. But of course, later it became degraded, especially in the Kali Yuga, and they began to, without any restraint, without any control, they just began to kill animals in the name of sacrifices. So that's why Lord Buddha came, to stop that. Because they were misinterpreting the Vedic statements that, if you want to eat meat, then you have to take a goat, not a higher animal, but a goat. And on a dark moon night, Amavasya, then you have to take that goat at a certain time in the night, and you have to whisper into the ear of the goat that there's a certain mantra, but the meaning of the mantra is, now I am going to take your life. In the future you can take my life. And why is such a mantra there? So that the person who's foolish and he's in the mode of ignorance and he wants to eat meat, and he wants to slaughter an animal in order to eat its meat, he'll begin to think, that's not such a good thing, that I'm going to take the life of this goat, and then the goat will come back and take my life. So it's meant for purification, not for overindulgence of the senses. So, but in the Vedic times, that animal, the horse, would be sacrificed, and what would happen? It would be given renewed life. They would chant mantras. There wouldn't be any bloody slaughter of the animal. They just simply would chant, the Brahmins would chant mantras and then place the animal on the sacrificial fire. That's all. And the animal would go unconscious like that, just from mantras. So there wouldn't be pain and suffering inflicted on the animal. So these were prescribed in the Vedas. So at that ghat in Varanasi, where there were 10 Ashwamedha Yagyas performed, is very significant why Mahaprabhu chose a particular place. Because Srila Bharati Maharaj said Mahaprabhu would always give instruction in a place that had very great significance. Not just for no reason, oh, I'll just go to this place. No. So Dash Ashvamedha, Srila Bharati Maharaj began to explain that we have 10 senses. And a yagya means to sacrifice. So the sacrifice of our senses in what? In bhakti, in devotional service to the Lord, is called a yagya. So because Mahaprabhu was now going to instruct Rupa Goswami in the ultimate yagya, which is to perform yagya for the satisfaction of Krishna, only for Krishna's satisfaction. Just like Nam Japa Yagya, that is a manifestation of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am that, the chanting of my names. So anyway, Rupa Goswami was instructed there for 10 days. And Mahaprabhu infused all of his power, all of his potency into the heart of Rupa Goswami. And in that way, Rupa Goswami became capable of conveying and writing and producing all of these literatures. So ultimately, who is this personality? Rupa Goswami? Who is he? Ultimately, he is the eternal associate of Radha and Krishna in Braj, in the most intimate capacity. And not only is Rupa Goswami this divine maidservant, Manjari of Srimati Radhika, named Rupa Goswami, but actually Rupa Manjari, but actually Rupa Manjari is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. And that's why her name is Rupa. Rupa means her form. So Rupa Manjari, we cannot even imagine how beautiful Rupa Manjari is in the transcendental world. Because she is an expansion of the body, bodily beauty of Srimati Radhika. Yeah. So that's why our great acharyas like Narottam Das Thakur have written such incredible songs describing Rupa Manjari. So I'm going to read that song. So, you've heard this song before. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. So Narottam Das Thakur, he along with his two god brothers, Shyamananda Prabhu and Srinivasacharya, they were the Siksha disciples of Jiva Goswami in Braj, in Vrindavan. And through Jiva Goswami, they learned all of the teachings of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and all. So, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, this song is written by Narottam Das Thakur to express what? What is he expressing? This song is considered practically the highest song in our sampradaya, written by our acharyas. But to understand this, it will take some significant spiritual advancement and sincere mood of surrender and sharanagati to understand truly the meaning and the mood of this song. But we will read this because this is the glorification of Rupa Manjari by Narottam Das Thakur. And what he's expressing in these verses, especially the first couple of verses, is he's talking about the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. We all know that Pada means lotus feet. So when we're hearing about this song, we should envision in our mind, in our heart, these transcendently beautiful, glowing, astonishing, brilliant lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari. Inconceivably beautiful. So, Narottam Das Thakur, first of all, in the first line he says, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mor Sampada. So what is the meaning of Sampada? Treasure. Sampada means treasure. So he is saying the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are my treasure. Se Mor Sampada. And then he continues again and again to point out what those two lotus feet are to him, what those two lotus feet represent to him. He says, Se Mor Bhajana Pujana. Those lotus feet, they are the sole object. They are the exclusive object of my bhajan and my pujan. So bhajan means my worship and my attempt to perform all the limbs of bhakti, my bhakti bhajan. And pujan means my worship. So those two lotus feet are my bhajan and my worship. Can we understand Narottam Das Thakur's deep moods just from hearing this little definition here? No, we cannot. But we should try. We should try to understand that those who are intimately connected with Srila Rupa Goswami and his eternal identity in Braj as Sri Rupa Manjari, this is what the two lotus feet of Rupa Manjari means to them. He says, Se Mor Pranadhana. Se Mor Pranadhana means they are my very life, the very wealth of my life. Dhana means wealth, and pran means life. So the wealth of my life are those two lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari. Then he says, Se Mor Abharana. Abharana means ornaments. Like if the gopis are decorating themselves with so many beautiful jewels, bracelets, necklaces, these are called abharana, ornaments. Here, Narottam Das Thakur says, those two lotus feet of Rupa Manjari are the very ornaments of my life. And then finally he says, at the end of this first verse, Se Mor Jivaner Jivan. So, Jivan, you know, in Russian language, you have almost the same word. Jivyos, Jivyat, J. It comes from Jiva. It means my life, my very life in Sanskrit. So here he says, Jivaner Jivan. They are the very life of my life. These two lotus feet. I cannot exist without them. They are the very life of my life. Now in the second verse, he continues to tell what these two lotus feet are to him, and he says, Say more rasa nidhi, say more vansha siddhi, say more vedara dharama, say vrata, say tapa, say more mantra japa, say more dharma karam. Say more rasa nidhi means her lotus feet are the treasure house of rasa. Rasa nidhi, treasure house of rasa. We just talked about rasa. This ultimate rasa, Krishna Bhakti rasa, Unnata Ujvala rasa, all of that is within the two lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. Say more rasa nidhi. Those two lotus feet are the treasure house of rasa. Say more vansha siddhi. Vansha siddhi means, vansha means our desires. We all know that word because we say it every day. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha. You know that? Everyone say. All together. Vansha kalpa taru yascha. So vansha kalpa taru means what? Wish-fulfilling tree. And we're speaking about the pure Vaishnavas. But here, Narottam Das Thakur is saying that these two lotus feet of Rupa Manjari are what? They are the attainment of all my desires. Vansha siddhi. To reach the perfection and the fulfillment of all of my desires are these two lotus feet. Say more Vedara Dharma. Vedara Dharma means Vedic Dharma. So there are so many. The Vedic Dharma has so many different levels. But he's saying here that all of the Vedic Dharma, those two lotus feet, are the final conclusion of all the Dharma in the Vedas. Then he says, say vrata, say tapa, say more mantra japa. So what is a vrata? You all know this. This word vrat. Vrat means what? Yes, vow. So in the course of our execution of bhakti and our attempt to enter into Uttama Bhakti, we have various vratas, like Ekadasi Vrat, Janmastami Vrat, all of these vrats, fasting vrats, and so forth. But there are many different types of vrats. So here he's saying that her lotus feet are the very goal of all of my vows, of all of my vratas. Yes. And all of my tapasyas. Say tapa. Say vrata, say tapa. Tapa means tapasya. All of my austerities that I perform are to achieve those two lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. Say more mantra japa. My recitation of the various mantras. Mantra japa. Those two lotus feet are the conclusion. And finally he says, say more dharma karama. Dharma karama means all of my dharma, my religious activities that I perform. Dharma karam. Dharma, karma. They are the final conclusion. They are the very purpose for which I perform all of these activities. So, now, Narottam Das Thakur, you have to really study this next verse because there's so much depth in the language that he's using, the words that he's choosing. But in brief, this translation is telling, Anukul habe vidhi, se pade hoi be siddhi, nirakiboe dui nayane, se rupa madhuri rashi, prana kuvalaya shashi, prafulita habe nishi dine. So here now he's talking, he uses the word vidhi. So you know, vidhi is sometimes the word used for fate, providence. You know, like a person's ultimate providence, their ultimate fate in their life. What will happen in their life. So there is a personality of providence, and here Narottam Das Thakur is saying that when that vidhi, that personality who controls our future, who controls our providence, when providence will become what? Anukul, will become favorable to me, then se pade hoye be siddhi. Oh, at that time only, I shall attain Sri Rupa Manjari's lotus feet, and I shall behold those two lotus feet with these two eyes. E dui nayane. Nirakibo e dui nayane. Then he says, Se Rupa Madhuri Rashi. So Rashi, Se Rupa Madhuri Rashi, means that there is this very abundant beauty, sweet beauty of Sri Rupa Manjari's lotus feet. And that rays of beauty coming from the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari, prana kuvalaya shashi, what will it do? It will shine like the moon upon the blue lotus of my heart. Though the rays of beautiful nectar, sweet nectar, coming from the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari, they will shine upon like the moon shines, they will shine on the blue lotus of my heart. And what will happen when that takes place? Prafulita habe nishi dine. Just like a lotus is blossoming. You know, a lotus flower, it opens. It opens when the sun rays touch the lotus flower, it opens. And then at night, then it closes. You know that about lotuses? They're not like other flowers. Lotuses open and they close. But there's also a lotus which is used, the example is used by the great Vaishnavacharyas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well. There's also a lotus flower that is a night blooming lotus flower. It blooms when the moon rays touch it. So he's saying here that just like the moon rays shine, so the beautiful rays of sweet nectar from the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari, they will shine upon the blue lotus of my heart. And then they will cause this blossoming in jubilation, for the heart to be full of ecstatic love, and cause my heart to bloom, to blossom day and night. Not just night, not just day, but day and night. Yes. Habe nishi dine. It will happen night and day. So now in the final verse, here Narottam Das Thakur, he is expressing his very painful mood of separation. He's feeling so much pain. Yes. He's comparing his pain of separation from the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari to be like what? Like a snake bite, a poisonous snake bite that bites the body and injects its poison into the body. And what happens? The body now starts to become corroded. The body starts to be filled with this very bad adverse reaction to the poison. So many symptoms come. So Narottam Das Thakur is expressing that Tua Ardarshana Ahi Garale Jaralo Dehi. He's saying that my inability to have your darshan is like a snake. Tua adarshana ahi. Ahi means snake. That's the word in Sanskrit, snake. Ahi. So tua adarshan ahi. Your absence from my vision is like a snake that has corroded my body with poison. Garale jaralo dehi, all like poison going all throughout my body by not having the vision of your lotus feet. Chirodin tapita jivan. So now he's expressing that the remaining days of my life, in absence and in separation from you, O Rupa Manjari, from your divine lotus feet, he says, Chirodin tapita jivan. These remaining days of my life will pass in the burning fire of separation. And finally he prays, Haha Prabhu Korodoya Deho Mori Padachaya Narottam Loilo Sharana. O Srila Rupa Goswami, Haha Prabhu Korodoya, please be merciful and please give me the shade of your lotus feet. Dehamori Padachaya. Padachaya means the shade of your lotus feet. Narottama Loilo Sharana. There, in the shade of your lotus feet, O Rupa Manjari, this Narottam is taking shelter. How beautiful is this song? Huh? We can't even imagine the moods of these Rupanuga Vaishnavas and how their every life breath is dependent on the service to the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. Because it is through Rupa Manjari only that we can attain the service of Radha and Krishna. Yes? That's why Rupa Goswami descended into this world from Goloka Vrindavan. Rupa Manjari descended and became Rupa Goswami and gave us all the necessary instructions that through which we can attain the service of the lotus feet of the divine couple in Braja and the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's so much more nectar, and I'd like to go on reading for another couple of hours, but I know that the time has reached its limit for our audience of devotees. Huh? To have a class here. But see, some of them, they can't come every day.
Maybe the next day you give class can be on the
Yeah, that's definitely, because that will be Thursday. Wait, what is today? Yeah, today is Monday, yeah. Well, tomorrow is the day that I give class. So if I give class and we continue with this glorification more, can you all come tomorrow? What? No. Validay Purnima is on Thursday. You know that this, what is that smell?
They are pouring the flowers,
They're doing what?
watering some kind of
poison.
Oh my God. On the flowers? That's where that smell is coming from? Are you sure? Close that window and the door. Close the window and the door. Is it smoke that he's...
No, this is kind of pharmacy small bottle with some medicine.
with some chemicals that he's putting on the plants.
I don't.
But I can't understand how that smell is coming just from that. No. It's from something else. What?
We have Rupa Gosvami there with Chamra, Rupa Manjari,
Yeah, point out which one.
with the Chamra.
Dhanyavad, Prabhuji.
Hey, I need to make an announcement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Russell vipers running around.
What are here around?
Russell vipers. You know the snake?
Oh, snakes. Oh.
Russell viper. You know Russel viper? No. It's a variety of a viper.
Of a snake.
It's a snake.
Yes.
If it bites you, you're done. Basically.
Oh my God.
So, don't go into the bushes.
Don't go in the bushes.
And don't go into the dark places.
Oh.
Be very careful.
Is that what that smell is? That they're putting some...
I did it here so that they don't come this side.
What did you put?
Carbonic acid.
Oh, okay.
Carbonic acid.
Okay.
Very must smell.
I never heard
Don't
of...
go that side now. Huh?
What is the name of that snake?
Russell viper.
Russell.
Russell. Russell. Viper.
Oh, Russell. Okay.
Well, we were just reading about Narendra Das Thakur, if you get separation, it's like a snake bite.
Yeah, we're reading here.
So you get
Just as this happened, we were reading the song written by Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. At the end of the song, he talks about how the separation from the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari, it is the last verse in the song, he says that your separation is like a snake that has bitten me and my whole body has become corroded by poison. And just as we're reading that, you came and told about the poisonous snakes, be careful. Yeah.
I mean, in the mud, in the, the brahmacharis where they say, today in the morning we caught
Oh.
in the morning.
Oh.
It's kind of crazy, they caught it by hand.
Are they small snakes? Oh. Okay.
After rains,
I don't know, maybe this is the time they made.
That it's spelled Rustle.
RUSSELL.
Oh, Russell. Oh, okay. Okay.
Is that an American pronunciation?
Yes. RUSSELL. Oh, here it is. Russell's viper, snake.
If you get bit,
Here it is.
how long do you have to
You
live?
have 45 minutes.
And then what do you have to do? What do you have to do? What's the antidote to that?
I hope they have it here. Basically, okay. If it bites you, usually they bite on the forearm. Forearm means beyond this. and if it goes beyond this. So what you do, first thing you do is you don't panic and you
Tie a
the
tourniquet.
upper.
Yeah.
So the blood flow stops.
Yes.
Then usually they make a H mark with a knife, try to throw it out, and you call for help and go to the doctor. Usually all the hospitals have antidotes.
Okay.
Usually.
Wow. So this is,
Good luck. I mean,
yes. So that's
Now cutting is not recommended. Cutting is not recommended now. Cutting the flesh is not recommended.
Nowadays, yes.
Because that opens up and it comes more places.
oh.
Earlier it was in the army it is written, so you tie it up and you make an H and try to drain the blood out. But this one has neurotoxin. The blood doesn't come out. It works for cobra. You know cobra?
Yeah, cobra. We all know
You
cobra.
can drain it out, but this is neurotoxin. It will coagulate the blood. It will make a cake. Blood immediately becomes a cake.
Neurotoxic. Okay.
So,
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That was important information.
We were sent by Narada.
So, this is the picture of that kind of a snake, but I think it's the same as a rattlesnake, no? Maybe not, because it looks like a rattlesnake with the spots on it. No, there's not a rattle. Otherwise, he would have mentioned it. But maybe it's from like the same family or something. Anyway, so
Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari is the Manjari with the Chamara. And you can see her lotus feet.
on the right side of Radha and Krishna. That's Rupa Manjari, and who's on the other side?
Bhakti Manjari.
Sometimes it's told Labanga Manjari, like Sanatan. Yeah. And then the other two, please explain what the other two are.
Vinod Manjari and Ramana Manjari or Vinamani Manjari.
Or who?
Gurudev or Paramagurudev.
But you said three names just now.
Because Gurudev has different Manjari.
So what are the two?
Ramana Manjari
Yeah.
and also Vinamani Manjari.
Nilamani. Oh.
Our Gurudev is Vinamani Manjari. And Srila Prabhupada is Nayana Mani Manjari. They're money family Manjari.
So repeat that again. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is Nayana Mani Manjari, right?
One name,
Right.
Vimala Mani Manjari.
Vimala Mani, yes, I've heard that. Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, you were going to say?
Vinod Manjari.
Vinod Manjari, and
Gurudev has different Manjari names. One of them is Neela Mani Manjari.
Nilamani.
Also Navadvip Manjari.
Yes, okay. So that's why Gurudev instructed Shamarani to paint those 4 manjaris, 4 personalities who are serving Radha and Krishna in their seva kunja. Because seva means service. But specifically seva kunj means where, who is serving who? Yes, Krishna is serving Radha and seva kunj, and that's why this seva kunj painting is showing Krishna in what kind of mood, what kind of pose. What is Krishna doing with his hands? Huh? Yes. He's begging to Srimati Radhika. And where is Krishna's flute? Krishna surrendered it at the lotus toe tips of Srimati Radhika. The flute is there in front of her foot. Yes. All the different things that are in that painting, Srimati Shamrani Didi, she has a very elaborate explanation. She tells the whole story of how when she first began coming to hear from Gurudev in the early 1990s, then at one point Gurudev, because he learned that she was a very accomplished artist. And at one point, then Gurudev said, "Can you paint my heart? Can you paint my heart?" And then Shamrani Didi, she said, "Only if you tell me how to do it." So there is a wonderful details that she narrates in how within that painting, it's a little difficult to see it in the smaller print, but when you see the original at Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math, or you see a giclée or something, then you see more details in that painting. But prior to this, there was never such a painting that became popularized all throughout the world. But when this painting was made, it captivated everyone. But still, this painting, you know, it's a depiction of the intimate exchanges between Radha and Krishna, and between Radha and Krishna and the Sakis and the Manjaris. It is representing that. How they are serving eternally in the Kunja, you see. So, this Nikunja Seva, all of our acharyas are aspiring for that. And that's why in the Gurvastakam prayer, which one? Number 6 of the Gurvastakam, there it is told, Nikunjayuno rati keli siddhyai yayali bi juktir apekshaniya tatra didakshat ati bhallabhasya bande guru shri charanaravindo. You know the meaning of this shloka? Maharaj can tell the meaning. So Nikunja, what is the meaning of the word Nikunja? It's this. This painting is the Nikunja. It's not just a kunja, it's a Nikunja. Very intimate, secret place where Radha and Krishna are meeting. Somewhere in Braj. There are so many Nikunjas. So what is the activity that is performed eternally for Radha and Krishna? Because eternally they are having their pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan. Yes? And their pastimes are unlimited. Yes? Just like the verse before that says, Shiradika madhavayor apara madhurya lila guna rupa namnam. So apara means unlimited. Apara. There is no limit. So the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna are unlimited. Everything is unlimited in the spiritual world. So in the Nikunja, to assist the pastimes of the divine couple, all the Sakis are there, all the Manjaris are there. Rati Keli Siddhyai means, the Rati Keli means the loving, playful pastimes of the divine couple. Rati Keli Siddhyai. To make them perfect, to bring about the perfection of their exchanges. Siddhyai. Rati Keli Siddhyai. Yaya Ali bi juktir apekshaniya. And here it's describing how Sri Guru, Bande Guru Sri Charanaravinda, Sri Guru is there. In what kind of a form? You cannot be there in the Nikunja in a male form. No male can come there. So the form of Sri Guru, which is meditated upon by the disciple, who has come to the stage of what? asakti. Not before that. I specifically asked our Srila Gurudev this exact question in 1995, before Gurudev even came to the West. I said, at what stage can a disciple meditate upon his guru in his eternal Manjari Swarup, in his form? And practically, the moment that I ended the last word of my question, Gurudev immediately said, asakti, asakti. So we can sing about it, but to meditate upon it, one requires to be very advanced to the stage of asakti, which is just before the stage of bhav. But as soon as Gurudev said that, then he said, before that stage, then the disciple must meditate upon Sri Guru according to the verse, Sakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastri. That verse. So, but in this Nukunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhai, here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clearly pointing out that in our Rupanuga Sampradaya, Sri Guru is always seen in this capacity as what? A very beloved maidservant of Srimati Radhika, under the guidance of who? Alibi. Alibi means the gopis. So, Yaya Alibi Juktir Apekshaniya. That personality, Sri Guru in his eternal Manjari form, is doing what? Is assisting all those gopis. Yes. And who is also there as the leader of the gopis? Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari is the leader of all the Manjaris. Not of all the gopis, of the Manjaris. Rupa Manjari is the leader. Yes. So, Tatra Didakshat Ati Ballabhasya. Sri Guru, in that form, in that capacity of serving the divine couple under the guidance of the Sakis and the primary Manjaris, then here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, what is that first word again? Tatra Atidakshat, yes. Atidakshat means extremely expert. You can't go to Goloka Vrindavan unless you are expert in all the different arts. So that expertise is enacted in what? Beginning in the stage of asakti and then in the stage of bhav. Why? Because there's a continual, non-stop meditation 24 hours a day. What? Serving the divine couple. Seva sadhaka rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi. Both in the sadhak group, in this external body that we still have, and in the siddha roop, the internal spiritual form, serving the divine couple under the guidance of Sri Guru and under the guidance of the Sakis. Seva sadhaka rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi, tadbhava lipsuna karya, vrajaloka anusarata. Tadbhava lipsuna means that particular mood of one of the associates of Radha and Krishna, whether they are in Manjari or Gopi form, or they may also be in Vatsalya Ras, like that. So Raganuga Bhakti means that in your perfected spiritual form, internally and externally with your sadhak form, you are serving the divine couple 24 hours a day. So, Tatra Atidakshat means very expert, and Ati Ballabhasya means extremely beloved. very beloved. Like Krishna is called Radha Ballabha because he's the beloved of Radha. So Ballabhasya means that you are extremely beloved. I mean, not you. Sri Guru, in his perfected spiritual form, is beloved of the divine couple. So Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda, I offer my vandanam, my prayers at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. So there's, so many beautiful topics and facets. We were just about to close the class and we were about to say that we can have more katha. And I was about to ask all of you, before he came into the room and informed us about the snake, that if we have class tomorrow, on Tuesday, would you all be able to come? Well, yeah, you all of you here, but you're coming from Mayapur. Would you be able to come? Would you want to come tomorrow? Okay. So Sajjan Maharaj suggested that we should have 3 days of katha for Rupa Goswami. Today is the first day. Actually, yesterday we already began, but at least we can have these 2 days because we already began yesterday. And I also will be watching online some of their discussions that are going on in Vrindavan. So okay, that's the conclusion, that tomorrow on Tuesday we'll have another class. And then, Baladev Purnima is Thursday, which is the usual day that I have class, but this time it falls on Baladev Purnima day. And that's a big day, because who is Balaram? Oh my God, we're going to hear about who is Balaram, who is Baladev. That's his appearance day. And 1 week later is Krishna's appearance day. So Krishna Janmashtami will be next week. Yes.
Will you give class on Thursday?
Yes, absolutely.
As usual.
What?
As usual at...
because usually I give class on Thursday, but this time we're adding an extra class, which was today, Monday. Because we had class on Sunday, and today, Monday, we're having class because it's the disappearance day of Rupa Goswami. And then on Tuesday, we'll continue this katha, because I want to read some very, very sweet nectar from Gurudev's book, the specific contribution of Srila Rupa Goswami. So we'll read that. But on Thursday, we will discuss Baladev Purnima. And also, on that day is the beginning of the second month of Chaturmasya. Because Purushottam month came right within the Chaturmasya. So we've actually been following now. In a few days, we'll be able to take cabbage again and green leafy vegetables. But we've been following that fast because the first 2 weeks, right, of the first month of Chaturmasya, we followed that fast. Then started Purushottam. Purushottam month is from the middle of that month to the middle of the next month, like Amavasya day. Amavasya means the dark moon day. So we followed that for the whole next month, and now, again, this last 2 weeks, up until Thursday, we've been following that fast again. So it's literally like a 2-month fast from that. And there some other restrictions have been there for certain persons who wanted to follow. But at least I was determined to follow at least that one thing. And so then next month begins on Thursday. On the full moon day is the first day in which the second month of Chaturmasya, it will be followed. And what is the particular type of food which is now fasting for the second month of Chaturmasya? Do you know? Yogurt, yes. Dahi. So, but if someone needs to take that, we have it written in our rules that if for health or your body or whatever, then you just have to add some water to it, and then you can take. So then the next month after that will be almost 1 month from now, and that's our liberation day for the sannyasis and the brahmacharis. You know, Liberation Day, Vishwarup Mahotsav. Because this is a rare occasion that we do not shave for 3 whole months. Usually it's 2 months, right? Because Chaturmasya. Then at the middle of Chaturmasya is the day when Mahaprabhu shaved his head. It's called Vishwarup Mahotsav Day, when Mahaprabhu was in South India and he heard that his brother Vishwarup had left the world, so he shaved his head. So our Param Gurudev has decided that we will follow that example, and we will follow only the first 2 months and the last 2 months in terms of not shaving. So that's why I call it our Liberation Day for the sannyasis, because 3 months we will be pretty fuzzy by then, and we'll be liberated from all these growths. Yeah.
I think the Mohan and his wife, because they may run out of prasadam.
Oh, were they expecting to get prasadam here? Was that your plan? Because usually they don't. Usually you don't go here for prasadam. You just go back to Mayapur and you have there. Yeah, they're not.
I need to take permission of you because there won't be any.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Please proceed. Anyway, the last month, or the 3rd month, is milk. Yeah. 3rd month is milk, and then the 4th month is, do you know? The Kartik month? That's one of them. Sesame seeds. Mustard seeds. And also oil. Sesame oil and mustard oil also. Those 3. What else? Actually, tomatoes is for all 4 months, but Gurudev gave some concession, and so those of us who are not following the tomato fast for all 4 months, we do the tomato fast during Kartik month. Absolutely, we do it. I always do it during Kartik month. And there's a couple of other vegetables, like Loki and a couple of other vegetables that are not to be taken during the whole 4 months of Chaturmasya. Oh, honey, yeah, honey. We follow it, we've been following it. That's a tough one for the Russian devotees. Not taking honey? That's almost as difficult as the Italian devotees not taking pasta. Anyway, Gaur Premanande. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu Ki Jai. Srila Rupa Gosvami Pada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha. Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Nama. Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai.